What's up, bird gang? Alan here with Parrots&Co. Let's talk about getting an aggressive parrot out of its cage. Now, this is a question and complaint that I get from a lot of new parrot owners and just parrot owners in general. You know, maybe you just got a baby bird, or you have a rehome bird that's been through, many different scenarios, many different homes, and you just simply want to be able to get your parrot out without it taking a big nasty bite out of your thumb or your finger, right? So I've been there. This happened to me when I first got Alfie, right? So let's talk about how to go about getting an aggressive parrot out of its cage and just start that taming process so that it's not a fight getting your parrot in and out of its cage, and you can start enjoying the relationship with your parrot. So my recommendation is always to, be a student first and get into your parrot's mind, right? Always seek to understand and diagnose your parrot, really understand its history. Ask yourself, why is my parrot being aggressive? Is it its history? Is it afraid? Is it being territorial? Maybe it's hormonal during this time of year, or there's something else like its diet and its sleep that is really contributing to it being aggressive when I'm interacting with it. Or maybe it's just not used to me and I'm moving too fast to try to do things with my parrot and it's not yet comfortable, right? Always seek to diagnose and ask yourself these questions. Usually when I see a parrot that's aggressive in its cage, it's usually territorial, or it's called cage aggression, right? Where you go to change out its food bowl and then it runs over and lunges or tries to strike, or you try to touch your parrot's toys to change them out, and again you get that same response where your parrot gets upset. Well, the reality is parrots kind of take ownership of their cage. In the wild, they use, I wouldn't say aggression, but they protect their mates and their resources, because you have a big flock of birds and everyone's trying to survive, and if another bird comes along and touches your stuff or messes with your burrow or your nest, you're gonna give them a really strong warning, letting them know, hey, that's my stuff, or hey, that's my resources, or hey, this is my nest, you can't be touching it, right? So I think that it's natural, since parrots are not domesticated, for them to have that response on occasion, especially when you add things like hormones or the time of the year where they're a little bit more aggressive in males and they're just trying to protect their cage, right? So this used to happen with Alfie, and as the relationship grew, he started doing it less and less. And one of the things I did to just start building relationship to the cage was every time I came by and interacted with Alfie, I would give him a little treat or his favorite, snack, as a way of saying, hey, when I ask you to step up off, off your perch and onto my hand, there's a reward coming. Or hey, whenever I come by, you're getting a reward. And he starts to learn, oh yeah, this human isn't so bad. When his hand comes in here, or when he interacts with me, he gives me positive reinforcement or things that I like. So you want to take that approach to, interacting with your parrot in its cage. But another great technique or strategy that you can use is to really use your target and clicker to maneuver your parrot around the cage when you're gonna go to, for example, change out its food bowl. So this is something that I do with my girlfriend, that I taught her on what to do with Alfie, because he gets really excited around her. He likes her a lot, he gets excited, he doesn't see her as often, so that excitement can easily turn into aggression. And in order to play it safe, what I'll do is, if Alfie's being, kind of cage aggressive with myself or even with her, I'll take my target stick and my clicker and I'll target up to the top part of his cage. That's kind of like this sleeping area he has. Not really a nest, but it's like a little wooden perch up top where he likes to sleep. I'll target him up there. He'll run up, get his treat, and while he's eating his treat, I'll basically put my hand in and, grab his toys or grab his food bowl and change it out. He's not very cage aggressive all the time or consistently, but sometimes randomly he just won't like my hand being in there, and he'll decide that he wants to show me who's boss. So the best form of reducing cage aggression and getting your parrot out is to remove the behavior or prevent it altogether. And a simple thing you can do is just target your parrot to another part of the cage while you reach in there and grab whatever you need to grab, right? Now, if you're at a point with your parrot where you ask your parrot to step up and it's going straight for your hand and it wants to bite you, it wants nothing to do with you because it's afraid or it's being aggressive or territorial, one trick that you can try, depending on how tame your parrot is to offer your hand and show a treat to your parrot as it begins to step up. So what I mean by that is, let's say that you want your parrot to get out of the cage, it's on its perch, you show them the treat and say, hey, here's the treat, but in order for you to grab your treat, you have to step up onto my hand, grab your treat, and then, I take you out of the cage and put you down, and then you can finish your treat. That can work. Another thing you can try, if you're not as comfortable with that right now, is you can have your parrot target outside of his cage, and you basically first want to start with target training and clicker conditioning through the cage so that your parrot knows, hey, if I follow this stick around and touch the end of it, hear a click, I get a reward. Up here, buddy. No, up here. Come on. You're smart. I know you're smart, Elfie. Good bird. You can do the same to get your parrot out of its cage without necessarily biting you. And then when it gets out and it touches a stick, you basically click and reward. And the same thing vice versa, right? A lot of people struggle with getting their parrot back in, and that's a whole nother conversation, because usually when a parrot doesn't want to go back in, it's because the environment set up in its cage isn't the same or as reinforcing or positive as it is outside. But with that being said, you can basically take that target stick and target your parrot back in the cage in a way that is rewarding for the parrot. It's getting a treat, and you're also kind of conditioning your parrot and having a little training session with him to really get that target and clicker training down. But it's a kind of intermediate step for somebody who might have an aggressive parrot or a parrot that isn't yet comfortable with yourself, so you can give them that quality, out of cage time. Another thing I would say, as a side note, is I personally don't like to have my parrot come out of its cage in its own term. If it's being extremely aggressive or it's in a state where it's heightened and that can turn into aggression, I don't want to reward him by getting him out of the cage in a state like that. I'll usually wait till he calms down and then take him out when he's in a better state. So I don't usually recommend that you just leave the cage door open and have your parrot go in and out whenever it likes. The reward for stepping up and being a good bird and coming out willingly is you get to hang out outside of the cage. So that's a little side note. And another recommendation that I would have is, if you aren't comfortable with having your parrot step up onto your hand because the relationship isn't really there yet, another trick that you can try is to have a small wooden perch that in the same way you put that perch in there, it's small, you ask the parrot to step up onto the wooden perch in exchange for reaching over to grab the treat that's in your hand. And that's a kind of intermediate step where your parrot starts learning, hey, when I ask you to come onto the stick, you get this treat when you step onto the stick. And then eventually you can start making that transition where you're practicing step up outside of the cage where your parrot might not be as aggressive. And for example, like Elfie, he's most aggressive, if not the only time I really see him being aggressive is around his cage. And that, like I mentioned, can be a natural thing, a natural behavior for their parrot because it's their home, it's where they eat, it's their toys, and it's kind of their only protected spot that they have. But yeah, I mean, that's it for these quick tips on getting an aggressive parrot out of the cage. And again, I'm speaking through experience here. I've been through the ups and downs, and I've got some nice little scars over the years to prove it. And don't worry about it now if your parrot is not as friendly as you'd like it to be. With time, patience, feedback, and persistence, you will be able to develop your parrot into a well-behaved parrot that can be your companion for many years to come. So that's it for this quick video, guys. Thank you. Elfie and I signing out. By the way, if you haven't checked it out yet, check out the free how-to guide download in the description below on parrot feeding, nutrition, and taming. Free, available for download. Let me know what you think. Elfie and I signing out. We'll see you guys later, bird gang. Good bird, Elfie. Good bird. Up here. Whoops, I dropped your snacky. I got you, bro. Right here, look. Come on.